My parents decided I wasn't welcome at their anniversary party. A few hours later, my sister uploaded a photo from the celebration, and the moment I saw it, I froze. Every detail, the grins, the shimmering champagne glasses, the perfectly arranged decor, showed them enjoying a night I had been deliberately cut out of. And the caption made it worse. Family forever #blessed night. My chest tightened, my breath tripped over itself, and for a second I felt myself slipping into that familiar pit of anger. Hit that like button and subscribe. You won't believe what happens next. That line echoed in my mind like some twisted narrator mocking me. I had always been the one they brushed aside. The daughter who never seemed to belong. Too quiet, too intense, too ambitious for their comfort. Mom told me I overanalyzed everything. Dad insisted I was too dramatic. And Madison, my sister who lived for attention, laughed at every dream I ever mentioned, insisting I lived in a fantasy land. But that night, staring at their cheerful photos, I realized they had absolutely no idea who I'd become. For years I stayed silent, working late into the night on something I never shared with them, an idea that turned into a business, and then into something even bigger. While they argued about pointless things and worshipped their own favorites, I was quietly building a life none of them could have predicted. Seeing them celebrate without me lit a spark inside me, because I knew the balance of power had already shifted. I looked at Madison's post again, her smug smile frozen in place, and the response I planned wasn't anger or tears. It was truth. Proof. Evidence that I was never the weak, invisible girl they convinced themselves I was. They had no clue what I had built. And revealing it? That was going to be almost too easy. By the end of the week, every self-satisfied grin in that photo would be replaced with disbelief they wouldn't forget. The secret I'd been carrying for years was finally ready to detonate, and it was going to start with the anniversary party they tried so hard to erase me from. The next morning I scrolled through every party photo again, pretending to be calm while fury simmered beneath the surface. Each smile felt like a dare. You think you can pretend I'm not here? Fine. Watch what happens. I didn't need their validation anymore. I already had what they refused to see: real power. Madison had even flaunted her engagement ring in one post. A glittering little trophy she was so proud of. My parents hovered around her like she was some perfect jewel, too blinded by their own pride to understand the truth. They had no idea that while they celebrated borrowed success, I had quietly secured investors, negotiated contracts, and built an entire empire behind their backs. By noon I was sketching out a plan. My reveal couldn't be small. It had to be bold, public, unforgettable. One post was all it would take to shatter their shallow version of reality. I caught myself smiling, almost laughing, as I imagined their expressions when they learned that the daughter they dismissed for years was now untouchable. But just as I finished outlining my grand reveal, my phone buzzed. A message from an unfamiliar number lit up the screen. "Aleliana, be careful. They know more than you think." My heart stumbled. The breath left my chest. Someone out there knew. And they were warning me. I didn't know the number, but the message was unmistakable. Someone deep inside my family's circle, someone close, already knew what I was planning. I froze just for a breath. Part of me wondered if I should wait, keep my success hidden a little longer. But then every memory resurfaced. Every insult. Every time they dismissed me. Every birthday they let slip by like I didn't exist. No, this was the moment. That evening, I walked straight into my parents' house. I wasn't invited, I wasn't expected, but I stepped inside with the kind of calm that made people look twice. Madison's jaw literally dropped. Her perfect curls and designer dress suddenly looked silly next to the quiet certainty I carried. Mom's smile stiffened. Dad went sheet white. They thought I'd stayed away out of embarrassment. They had no idea. I didn't waste a breath. I set my laptop on the dining table, flipped it open and said almost lightly, "Remember how you used to laugh at my little projects?" A few clicks later, the screen glowed with dashboards, numbers, partnerships. An empire they'd never bothered to ask about. Real revenue. Real growth. Real power. Madison's confident smirk disintegrated. "Wait, is that?" she started. Dad cut her off, his voice unsteady. "Aleliana, this?" I smiled. "Years of being overlooked, Dad. Years of you choosing favorites. I didn't need your approval then, and I don't need your validation now. I just wanted you to see what you ignored." Panic flickered across their faces. The flawless family facade finally cracked. Then I delivered the hit they never saw coming. "Oh, and that property you said was out of my league? I own it. Outright. No mortgage, no loans. Just me. Working while you underestimated me." Mom's breath caught. Madison's cheeks flushed dark red. Dad looked like someone had pulled the floor out beneath him. And then my phone buzzed. Another message from the unknown number. This time it was a photo from the anniversary party, but not the same one I'd seen earlier. This one showed Madison holding a small envelope, with my name on it, in Dad's handwriting. My stomach tightened. Humiliation was one thing, but this looked like something else entirely. A setup. A warning. A move I hadn't prepared for. I didn't panic. Instead, a slow smile spread across my face. If they wanted a game, they were finally about to learn who they were playing with. I picked up my phone and dialed my assistant on a secure line. I took a steady breath. This was the moment. Everything we planned, every detail, every step toward full exposure. It was finally time for them to see who I truly was. Within minutes, social media exploded. Friends, coworkers, distant acquaintances, even strangers were tagging my parents' profiles, posting about my achievements, my business empire, my rise. Every share, every comment was another reminder that the daughter they had dismissed for years was now untouchable. My mom's hands trembled as she gripped her phone, scrolling through the flood of notifications that seemed to multiply right in front of her. "Eliana, what is this?" she whispered, barely managing the words. Madison stood motionless, the envelope she had been so proud of lying forgotten on the table. I leaned forward, my voice cool and steady. "That envelope? It was meant to be your triumph over me. Instead, it's about to expose how blind and how petty you've all been." Silence settled over the room like a heavy curtain. You could hear the smallest sound. Then another notification appeared. This one from my lawyer. A legal confirmation of my complete ownership of the property, my business assets, and a new deal they had no idea even existed. Dad's face drained of color. Mom's mouth opened but no sound came out. Madison looked seconds away from crying. And then it hit me, terrifying for them, liberating for me. They still hadn't opened the envelope. The real secret was still waiting. I picked it up slowly, letting the tension stretch until it almost snapped. Madison's eyes were wide. Mom clutched the table like it was the only thing holding her together. And Dad's jaw was clenched so tightly his whole face had gone pale. I slid the envelope across the table, the movement deliberate and controlled. "Open it," I said. Calm. Icy. Inside was a stack of documents, contracts, bank statements, signed agreements, proof that years ago, without their knowledge, I had quietly acquired their most valuable assets. The house, the land, the commercial properties they bragged about. All of it. Mine. Their image of superiority, their pride, their supposed power, it dissolved right there in front of them. "You how?" Dad managed, voice cracking. Mom buried her face in her hands. Madison's cheeks turned scarlet, like she had stepped into a nightmare she couldn't escape. I sat back, letting them drown in the truth, letting the silence finally feel like justice. "You thought I was weak," I said, looking at each of them. "You dismissed me, laughed at me, treated me like I didn't matter. But while you were celebrating yourselves, I was building a life you couldn't even dream of." A small, satisfied smile curled on my lips. "Now? Everything you used to hold over me is gone. I was never powerless. You were just too arrogant to see it." No one answered. Every insult they'd thrown at me over the years was now reflected right back at them, sharper than ever. And for the first time in a long time I felt free. Free from their judgment. Free from their control. Free from the fear of being invisible. I had flipped the script and they knew it. Madison finally managed a whisper. You won." I straightened, confidence radiating from every inch of me. "No, Madison," I said quietly but with absolute certainty. "I didn't win anything. I always had this. You were just too blinded to recognize it." And with that, the girl they spent years mocking had become the woman holding every card in the room. Whether they liked it or not, they had no choice but to accept it.